In a secluded valley where time seemed slower and mornings carried the scent of dew, a small village thrived in peace. Yet, beyond the cheerful chatter of markets and the warmth of hearths, there lived a woman apart from them all, Elira, the witch. To the villagers, she was a figure of fear, a keeper of dark secrets, someone best avoided. But behind her shadowed reputation was a woman with a fragile heart, yearning for love she believed she could never have. That love had a name, Darius. He was a farmer, broad-shouldered and kind, with a voice that could soothe even the harshest tempers. Elira had watched him for years, weaving hidden blessings into his fields, calling gentle rains when his crops wilted. She told herself that this quiet devotion was enough. But every time she saw him smile at his wife, Leora, a piercing ache tore through her soul. Leora was everything Elira was not: gentle, radiant, adored by the village. She moved like sunlight through the world, softening all she touched. And worst of all, Darius's eyes never strayed from her. Elira, standing at the edge of the crowd, was invisible to him. Her love grew heavier, twisting into a gnawing envy until it became unbearable. One storm-soaked night, Elira's loneliness broke her resolve. She lit her cauldron with a flame that burned green, tossing in nightshade blossoms, serpent venom, and her own blood. The potion hissed and spat as she whispered words forbidden even among witches. It was not just a spell, it was a vow. She would claim Darius, no matter the cost. At dawn, when Leora walked the forest path to gather herbs, Elira followed. Her footsteps were silent, her breath sharp with dread and hunger. When Leora bent to pluck a flower, Elira raised her trembling hand and released the curse. The sound was like a sigh carried by the wind. Leora gasped, eyes wide with shock, and fell to the earth, her basket scattering petals across her still body. The villagers buried Leora beneath the great oak tree at the village's heart. Darius's cries echoed into the night, raw and broken. He sat by her grave for days, refusing food, refusing comfort. Elira came to him at last, pretending sorrow, her hand brushing his shoulder. "You are not alone," she whispered, her eyes desperate, pleading for him to see her. But Darius turned his face away. His grief was a chasm, and no hand could reach him. He looked upon Elira not with gratitude, not with love, but with suspicion. Soon the whispers began, villagers muttering of dark magic, of the witch's shadow on the day Leora died. They remembered Elira's cold stares, her restless eyes, the way she had always lingered near Darius. The suspicion grew into fury. One night, torches flickered through the trees as the villagers came for her. They dragged her from her cottage, her hair wild, her voice trembling as she screamed her innocence and her love. Darius walked among them, his face hollow, his heart a ruin. He did not raise his hand to stop them. They bound Elira to a post at the edge of the forest, where the flames could be seen for miles. As the fire climbed her legs and smoke filled her lungs, she called out Darius's name, not in hatred, but in desperate love. He stood still, tears burning his eyes, yet he did not move. His silence was her final punishment. Elira's ashes scattered into the wind, but her curse lingered. Darius never recovered. His farm withered, his laughter vanished, and he lived the rest of his days as a ghost of the man he once was. The villagers said it was justice, but in truth, it was tragedy, for a love twisted into obsession had destroyed them both. And when the wind howled through the valley on cold nights, it carried a voice, Elira's voice, whispering Darius's name, forever yearning, forever unloved. Years passed since the night Elira's screams were silenced by the flames. The villagers spoke of her only in whispers, warning their children not to stray too near the forest where her ashes had fallen. They thought the matter closed, justice served, balance restored. But the earth remembers, and so do the dead. Darius lived on, though it could hardly be called living. His once strong frame bent under grief, and his eyes were hollow, forever fixed on the grave of his beloved Leora. By day he worked his fields in silence, by night, he sat at the oak tree where she rested, murmuring broken prayers. Yet his dreams betrayed him. In them, he saw both women, Leora with her golden smile, and Elira with eyes of fire. Their voices twisted together until he could not tell them apart. One autumn evening, when the wind hissed through the trees, Darius felt it, a presence. At first faint, like the brush of a hand across his cheek, then clearer, until he could hear her voice. Darius, it was Elira, whispering from the air itself. He staggered back, clutching his chest, but the shadows around him stirred with laughter, Leora's laughter, mocking, mournful, rising from beneath the ground. From that night on, the valley grew restless. Crops withered before harvest, wells turned bitter, and cattle refused to graze near the oak. The villagers muttered of a curse, saying Elira's vengeful spirit walked the woods. But others claimed it was Leora's shade, bound in sorrow, unable to rest because her death had been unnatural. Darius was caught between them. Each night, one ghost appeared. Leora, pale as moonlight, her lips blue, her eyes hollow, standing at the foot of her grave. She whispered, "Why, Darius? Why did you let me die?" Her words were not filled with love, but accusation. He would weep, begging forgiveness, but her eyes never softened. Then, when the moon was dark, Elira would come. Not as flame and fury, but as a shadow with eyes still full of longing. "I loved you more than life itself," she said. "And you gave me only silence. Do you not see, Darius? Even in death, you are mine." She would reach for him, and the air around his skin burned as though the fire still licked at her. The villagers grew afraid of him, whispering that he was cursed, haunted by both the living and the dead. Children hid when he walked by, neighbors crossed themselves and shut their doors. Alone, Darius withered, torn between two spirits, one who loved him too much, and one who loved him still, even in hatred. On the eve of winter, unable to bear the torment, Darius climbed the hill overlooking the valley. The wind howled, carrying both voices at once, Leora weeping, Elira calling his name. With trembling hands, he lifted the dagger he once used to harvest wheat and drove it into his own heart. The villagers found his body beneath the oak tree, his blood seeping into the roots where his wife lay buried. From that night forward, the valley was never free. Strange lights flickered through the forest, whispers rode the wind, and travelers swore they saw three figures, Darius, Leora, and Elira, walking together in the shadows, bound forever in a tragic knot of love, envy, and grief. And so the story lived on, the tale of the witch who loved too fiercely, the wife who died too young, and the man whose silence destroyed them all.